Soulframe is really a vibe as much as it is a game, and its world is meant to be discovered through exploration. But if you're more of a goal-oriented gamer, then here's a guide to Soulframe's content so you can always know what to do next. Before we get started, keep in mind that Soulframe is still early in development, so we can expect many changes and additions as the game grows into the future. Check the description and the pinned comment for updated info, especially if you're watching this video after Preludes 10. Also, just as a general note, all of Soulframe's story quests can get buggy when you do them in a group, especially for the person who is not hosting the squad. I'm sure this will get fixed eventually, but for now it's safest to do your fables solo and team up with friends for things like Sparrowtails and farming materials. And the last thing I want to mention before we get started is that this is the order I like for doing Soulframe's content, but really you can go about it however you want. There are a few fables that will only trigger in specific order, but otherwise the game is yours to explore in whatever way you like, and it can be a lot of fun to just wander around and complete content as you find it. Alright, so you've made your envoy and you've chosen your pact, now what? The first thing the game will prompt you to do is summon your sparrow. This sweet little bird will guide you towards your quest objectives or to any waypoint you put on your map. Her first destination for you is a tower that will start your first fable, a story quest called the Last Pensive. This fable will introduce you to Orlick, a scribe who becomes your first ancestor. He wants you to find his quill, and your sparrow will guide you to its location. After you return it to him, you'll see a notification pop up that an ancestor has joined your Nightfold. Nightfold is a sort of pocket dimension where you can change your gear and interact with your ancestors. After completing the Last Pensive, you'll want to walk towards the glowing light that appears in your Nightfold. This will cause Orlick's area to rise from the water, and it will trigger a cutscene that unlocks the beginning of your next fable, the Torment Stag. Your sparrow's next destination is a world tree. These trees have been corrupted by the Ode, and your envoy can heal them by removing the forked spears stuck in their trunks. This reveals a section of your map, so one thing you'll want to do as you progress through the game is find all the world trees and restore them. In Preludes 10, there are 11 accessible world trees, and each one has an entry in your codex. Now that your envoy understands the effect of removing Odin's spears, you're ready to pursue the corrupted stag. Your sparrow will guide you to Avocot, who directs you to enter the Undercity through the well behind him in search of a totem that will allow you to enter the stag's glade. The sparrow will help you navigate the Undercity to find the totem and then show you the way out. At various points in this fable, text will pop up on your screen prompting you to engage with different combat mechanics. This is essentially Soulframe's tutorial, so just follow the prompts to get a quick introduction to the game's controls. The Torment Stag continues with a trip into the glades of Andrin. The ship you see on the way there is a bit of foreshadowing, but here it mostly helps you find your way to a fable statue. Interacting with this statue introduces you to the music mechanic and gives you some lore about Diora and Garen. Finally, you can enter the glades where you will free Lady Diora from the spell song and cleanse Garen Rude. This rewards you with several items you can craft, so even though the Torment Stag ends with hints towards the next ancestor fable, and a fable called an invitation automatically appears in your codex, my recommendation from here is to do the blacksmith's fable next. This fable is called the Steelsinger, and you start it by going to the spot where you see lightning strikes. Pick up the helm on the ground and then follow your sparrow to deliver it to Tuvalkane. Despite some self-esteem issues, she'll join your envoy in Nightfold, and this unlocks Soulframe's crafting. I'll put a link below to my guide on crafting, but what you'll want to do for now is start crafting any new weapons you're able to make. This is how you increase your bond with Tuvalkane, which does take some time, so you'll want to get this started as soon as you unlock her. Your next fable is called an invitation, and it will guide you through entering your faction's enclave. This will unlock faction tales, but I wouldn't worry about doing these just yet since there are 2 other fables that should take priority. The first of these is called the Shewolf Snared, and it all starts with a red balloon. Opening the chest beneath the balloon will reveal a note, and reading this note starts the fable. Follow your sparrow to find Orengal and free her from the Ode. Orengal won't trust you right away, so she runs off to answer the howls of her cubs. You can earn her trust by fighting against the Ode, so this is a good time to do a few of your faction tales and get some new fragments for crafting. Eventually you'll hear Orengal's howl whenever you enter Midrath's open world. This is your indication that the next part of Orengal's fable is available. Activating Soul Mode will highlight a trail of paw prints, which will lead you to a group of enemies. Fight them and Orengal will appear to help finish off the last one, and then she'll ask you about your intentions for her pups. Your answer to this question will give you a permanent increase to one of your virtues, and you cannot change it later. It's only a 1-point increase, so it's not going to make a huge difference, but I still wish the game gave you a clear indication of what this choice does, given that there's no way to change it later. Select the answer that goes with the virtue you want to boost, since it has no other impact on story or gameplay. Once you make your choice, Orengal will task you with finding her lost pups. Your sparrow will lead the way once again, and Orengal will show up every now and then to help you out. At the end of the fable, you'll get to choose one pup to care for yourself. This is another permanent choice, although at the moment all it does is add this pup to your nightfold, where you can shower it with pats and belly rubs. This may change in the future, although nothing is confirmed yet. Finally, it's time to add Verminia to your nightfold. This fable is called Brewer of Hues, and you can start it by reading a piece of lore here, and then entering the glades of Andoran through the entrance underneath this giant tree. The lore may not be strictly necessary to start the quest, but I'd suggest grabbing it anyway, since this quest seems to have more bugs than most. Follow your sparrow through the glades, and you'll exit into a special instance of Midrath where you'll find a caged rat and have your first encounter with Nimrod. Follow the rat and fight Nimrod as he appears until your sparrow leads you to a fable statue. Playing music here will reveal Verminia's hiding place, where she will join with your envoy and grant you a cloud quell. This potion will weaken Nimrod, allowing you to finally defeat him, and then add Verminia to your nightfold. Verminia will dye your armor and will also give you 1 cloud quell potion per day to use in fights against Nimrod during your faction tales. After the first time you dye your armor with Verminia, you'll see a cutscene that hints at our next fable. This has to be Bromius, who hasn't been added to the game yet but is probably coming in Preludes 11. Now that all of your Preludes 10 fables are done, the next thing you'll want to do is the Festival of the Circade. I've already done a guide for the Circade, link below, but I would make this dungeon a priority once your fables are done, because we aren't sure exactly how long it's going to be in the game. It seems likely that the crypts are a permanent addition to Soulframe, but I'm not sure if the festival part of the Festival of the Circade means this is seasonal content, in which case the crypts might have other boss encounters during other special events. That said, even if Festival is just the flavor text that DE decided to use and there's no time limit to worry about, the Triune Talisman is pretty handy, so I'd still suggest working on this next either way. Once you have your Triune Talisman, your next focus should be Faction Tales. These will give you standing to advance through your faction's ranks and fragments for crafting new weapons and armor pieces. Your faction NPC also has a shop where you can buy fragments for specific weapons and armor, as well as that faction's starting pact. You should not craft a duplicate of the pact you started with. It will take up some of your pact capacity, and there's currently no way to get rid of duplicate pacts. At rank 3 in your faction, you can purchase Sacred Shimmer, the material you need to craft the totems that unlock faction swapping, but you might not want to swap right away because there's also a new pact available to purchase at rank 5. Once you have the totem for the faction you want to swap to, the only cost for switching factions is patience. You can only swap once per week, but there doesn't seem to be any limit other than this cooldown. You do want to swap eventually, though, because all of the starter packs are very fun and each powerful in its own way, and the only way to get the ones you didn't start with is to buy them from their respective factions. Getting all that faction standing is going to be quite a grind, but I find it a pretty enjoyable one, especially now that we can choose the length of our faction tales based on the star rating of the faction tale NPCs. These tales can spawn everywhere on Midrath, so they are a great thing to do while exploring the world and collecting fragments. They're also excellent content to do in a group. You can team up with friends even if you're not in the same faction, and everyone will get standing towards the faction they're currently working on. Eventually you're going to come across one of these monochromatic swamp areas, and if you discover within it a giant throne with a stone figure sitting on it, you've found the Mendicant King. This is a relatively new world boss that drops a unique armor set. Awaken him by ringing the bell behind the throne, and then be ready for a fight. After you defeat him, the throne will be empty, and it takes roughly 1 in-game day for him to respawn. If you haven't found all the world trees by now, this is a good time to track down whichever ones you're missing. Once you've cleansed all of them, you'll automatically get the fragment for Dukalik, the very same spear you've been pulling out of the trees. And now you've made it to Soulframe's endgame, at least as far as Preludes 10 is concerned. Your last task while waiting for Preludes 11 is collecting. There are 3 broad categories for collection that you'll want to pay attention to as we wait for the next update: gear, materials, and motes. Let's start with gear. Soulframe currently has 7 packs, 18 main weapons and 5 sidearms for a total of 23 weapons, and 9 armor sets with 4 alternate helmets for a total of 31 armor pieces. Your best resource for where to find fragments for all this gear, as well as the materials you need to craft it, is Soulframe Plus, since it's constantly being updated as drop tables change. You're going to want to stock up on crafting materials, especially now, because it looks like a joinery rework is coming soon, which would mean a whole lot of reforging. Gathering materials now will put you in a great place to play with the new bonuses as soon as they get into game. I saved motes for last because we know huge changes to the mote system are coming soon, but we don't know how they will work or what, if anything, will happen to existing motes. In Preludes 10, motes are these little golden lights you find hovering around points of interest. The diamonds you see over an area's name when you enter show you how many motes must be found to fully recover the lore for that area. Empty diamonds represent motes you haven't discovered yet, full ones represent motes you already have, and the floating little guys indicate a mote currently spawned and ready for you to retrieve. When you've fully translated the text for an area, you can sometimes claim a mote for your codex, allowing you to choose between 2 bonuses that can be equipped on a pact or weapon. I say sometimes because only the older locations have equipable motes to claim. When more points of interest were added to the game, we didn't get more motes with them. This is part of what leads me to believe that there may be some pretty big changes coming, not just to how motes function, but also to how we get them, or what we get when we claim motes in the open world. The choice you currently make when claiming a mote from your codex is a permanent one, meaning there's no way to get the bonus you don't choose, and I really dislike this design. I definitely didn't understand enough about how motes work when I chose mine, and almost exclusively chose pact motes, not realizing that they were different from weapon motes. I really hope this changes in the upcoming rework. Motes looked completely different in the latest dev stream, so there's no telling how these will work when the update arrives. My advice for now is to go ahead and retrieve motes from the open world as you find them, but don't claim anything from your codex until the mote rework drops. Hopefully they've got some sort of plan in place for existing players who already claimed their motes, but you might want to hold off just in case. And if you're watching this video after the mote rework has already been released, check below for a guide on how the new mote system works, because you know I'm definitely going to cover it. Seriously, the mote system looks so good, I cannot wait. If this guide has been helpful for you, please consider liking this video or subscribe for more Soulframe content. What do you think of the new mote system? Do you like the current motes? Are you excited about the rework? Let me know in the comments. And until next time, happy hunting!